Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or are watching this for the first time, it's called Uncommon Sense because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions. Not everyone uses logic. For that reason, it is called uncommon sense. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And I see here we have in the house the beautiful Christina. Good evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. Just like to know, are you spending Christmas here in your state, or you're gonna go to the DR? Okay. So also, I just want to let everybody know that Christina does have a couple of channels. So I'm gonna ask that if you have not done so, please subscribe and check out her content. Now, before anything else, I want to start by giving a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel. And I see here, okay, all right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as as you're having, you're having a safe, good time. That's the main thing. Okay. Now, as I stated before, I want to start this out by saying, um, let's see about this. Oh, you're gonna love it. Believe me, you're gonna love it. And in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm planning to visit my niece, one of my nieces on Christmas Eve, and she makes coquito. So I'm gonna make sure that I buy a bottle so I can enjoy it. I haven't had coquito in a long time. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Depending on the amount of rum or alcohol that you put into it. Okay. So again, just like to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel. I want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media. And I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who allow me to enter into your devices. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is the following. If you have not done so, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch on the playback. Okay. I do want to let people know that the subscriber mode is on, meaning that if you have not done so and you wish to enter a comment, you need to subscribe to the channel. Again, this is my attempt to try to control the trolls, and I'm trying to keep this platform a safe place for everyone to come in and express their point of views. And if we disagree, we disagree, as long as we do it respectfully. Now, before we get into the topic at hand, there's a couple of observations I want to make before we get to the main topic. Now, first of all, um, back in October, I became 60 years old. Okay. Um, in the beginning, I was kind of looking at this with some dread because it's a sign that I'm getting older. It's a sign that some of the things that I used to be able to do when I was younger, I'm not able to do it, or if I do it, it takes more time for me to do it. However, I noticed that there are some advantages for people who are 60 or and over. First of all, there are senior citizen discounts. So that means I get to go see a movie um, for less money. And also, there's a couple of restaurants that I can go dine in where they offer discounts to senior citizens. That is people who are 60 and over. Also, this week, I have been visiting some of the recreation centers that offer people 60 years and over. So, being that I'm on vacation this week, I decided to visit those places. And sometimes there could be some fun activities, and it would be an opportunity to meet people my age. So now I'm really thinking that, and I'm thinking, you know what? Since I'm 60, I might as well take advantage of everything that I can apply to on within my grasp. And I would suggest that for all the people that are millennials and the Gen Z people, when you get to be my age, look at it as a world of opportunities and new experiences, and don't think of it as getting old. Okay, I truly believe it's a mindset. Okay, so that being said, one thing that it was discussed briefly in one of my earlier streams, um, which was the fact that I have gone to various different platforms and supported them, and some of these individuals had beefs with each other, and the fact of the matter is, even though I'm cool with all of them, they seem to be cool with me. Um, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. The conflicts that people may have, that's their own personal conflicts. I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to meddle. Okay. However, at the same time, whenever they express a point of view where I disagree, I'm just going to state that I respectfully disagree and keep it moving. Okay. Because I don't meddle in other people's affairs, and I definitely don't want people to meddle into mine affairs. So for that reason, when people have beefs and what have you, I prefer to stay neutral. So with that being said, now we're going to get into the main topic. So the topic for tonight is: do mainland Puerto Ricans have an identity crisis? Now, let me explain to you, and please, if you forgive the biblical term, the genesis regarding the topic. Now, this is something that I have discussed on previous streams, both in English and in Spanish. And let me explain to you what's the meaning behind the topic. Um, with any group, um, when people leave their respective homelands and immigrate to the United States to live, not just Puerto Ricans, but also Dominicans, also Colombians, also anyone from anywhere that was born um, in a different country. And then when they decide to leave for whatever reason and to migrate to the United States to live, of course, you have the first generation um, of those people. Um, Usually, they're the children of the parents of those who um, left their countries of origin to live in the United States. Now, one thing that's common regarding people of the first generation, uh, they still maintain some of the customs, some of the traditions, and also the native tongue of their parents and grandparents. Okay, like in my example, both my parents came from Puerto Rico. Okay, and they left the island when they were very young, and they moved to the United States to live in New York. So, in the case of my siblings, okay, uh, we do speak Spanish. Now, mind you, the Spanish that we speak is not perfect. Could be kind of like listening to Frank Purdue speak Spanish, but we do speak most, and and then we have managed to maintain some semblance of the customs and beliefs that our parents us. However, after the first generation, with the second generation, and each passing generation, what happens is in their attempt to assimilate to life in the United States, um, they start to lose more of their identity. Um, so after the second generation, going into the third generation, what happens is many of the people that consist of the diaspora, they don't have much information or much knowledge regarding their ethnicity. Many of them do not speak the native tongue at all. They have become Americanized. Okay, so this is where um, it could be an identity crisis, because what happens is when our parents try to instill on us the language and the customs and whatever, sometimes we could be hesitant in accepting that knowledge and claiming to be American uh, because we were born here. Now, let me make this perfectly clear. I don't have a problem um, being called an American. Um, I don't have a problem necessarily with adapting to the culture here in the United States, because, in all fairness, we do need to adapt to a certain extent in order to function well in this society. However, what gets to be a problem is that if we lose our identity, that could be the problem. And one thing I noticed in regards to many Puerto Ricans, um, a great portion of them that live in New York, to a certain degree, Puerto Ricans that were born and raised in other places like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Boston, Illinois, places like Chicago, or cities in Florida. What happens is many of them do not speak Spanish at all, but even more of a serious nature, many don't have an idea regarding the culture. So this is where I see it could be a crisis. Okay, because here you are. Um, you might be someone like myself, which is a first generation, or correction, a baby boomer, or you might be uh, gener- um, generation X person, or you might be a millennial or a generation Z person. So what happens is many of the younger people, not all, but many do not speak Spanish and do not have a clue regarding the culture. In the case of my family, okay, after after us siblings, um, with the second generation and the third generation, unfortunately, most of them they don't speak Spanish. They have little or no knowledge regarding um, the Puerto Rican culture. And also, there's another issue. Okay, I'm not saying that all Puerto Ricans from the island um, have a problem with us, but there are those who do not look at us as Puerto Ricans. We look upon as Americans or gringos, even though we're part of the same ethnic group. The problem is that uh, we were born and raised in the United States. So therefore, we have a different culture. We have different belief systems. Okay, there are some things that still survive. Excuse me, I'm just getting something to drink. Like the sense of family, gathering together on the big holidays, particularly when it comes to holidays like Christmas, New Year's, and things of that nature. Okay. I'm not here to bash any mainline Puerto Rican because I'm a mainline Puerto Rican myself. I was born and raised in New York. What I'm trying to do is have a conversation to see whether or not we do have an identity crisis. I would say some do, others don't. And I think part of it has to do with the upbringing that they receive from their parents. Because there are parents who have made a constant an effort that their children, first of all, become well versed in Spanish. Also, they become well versed in their culture, and that while they're living here in the United States, um, the, they make sure they don't forget who they are and their culture. Now, in my case, um, the reason why my Spanish is kind of like a gringo version of Spanish uh, is because of the fact that when I was younger, my parents emphasized um, that I learn English. Just give me a moment. Okay. Um, and whenever I did try to learn Spanish, of course it came out, you know, and of course they were always telling me, speaking English, speaking English, speaking English. Now I understand the reason why they did that to try to help me assimilate to the culture here, and also that unfortunately that that I would spare the ridicule that many of us experience, particularly when we were children, because unfortunately children can be cruel because they speak without filter. So as a result, I learned my Spanish late at life. Okay, just to give you an idea, um, when was this? This was when in my 20s. So that's something to think about. Now, I do want to acknowledge the fact that there are 8 people watching this stream. I say thank you very much. Please don't forget to like as you come in, okay? It doesn't cost you anything. Also, if you want to join the panel and have so we can have a discussion, by all means do so. I also all are welcome, but I particularly would appreciate if we have some people from the either the Puerto Rican or the Dominican community to share, come in and share their experiences, because I believe that we share similar experiences regarding who we are as far as identity. But in any case, all are welcome to um, join the panel. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share an article that came from um, the Library of Congress, and it's about Puerto Rican language and identity. Okay. Merging cultures shape Puerto Rican contemporary use of language and identity. This process began when the Spanish first came into contact with the native Taínos and was further influenced by the integration of enslaved African peoples. Once the U.S. took over, Puerto Rico went through a second wave of hybrid language that surged from the cultural melting pot on the island. The merging of the American English culture with the Taino, African, and Spanish cultures led to a complex language and identity which is very unique to the island. Excuse me. Current linguistic habits present among locals in Puerto Rico paved the way for a scholarly dialogue around the construction and the rethinking of the Puerto Rican identity. For example, code switching from English to Spanish and vice versa illustrates colonialization remnant effects on Puerto Rican language development. Some prime examples are English words like internet, zipper, and pocket, which Puerto Ricans adapt to fit Spanish pronunciation. Other forms of English that are tangible in Puerto Rican language are the use of Anglicism, loan translation, and syntactic characteristics. The development of language in Puerto Rico also shapes the Puerto Rican identity. Their cultural and linguistic influences have granted the Puerto Rican population the flexibility to identify with a range of social identities, including Puerto Rican American and Puerto Rican American. Despite colonization, Puerto Ricans hold a strong sense of identity, which connects them with the complex language practices that highlight a vast linguistic repertoire. Puerto Ricans have created a language that responds to specific needs of their social, cultural, and linguistic environment, embodying elements from the historical rich Taino, African Spanish, and English vernaculars. Good evening, Irby. How you doing? The topic for tonight is identity crisis. I think that's something. I think that's something that you as a mixed person. So if you wish to join a panel, by all means do so. Okay. Despite the historical implementation of monolingual identities on the island. Puerto Ricans have demonstrated cultural resistance oppression into a unique articulation of their own. Fusion present in Puerto Rican Spanish opens the door for historical analysis on the current identity of the island and its political infrastructure. The following items examine the complexity of Puerto Rico's identity and language use, particularly focusing on topics of language development, bilingualism, and identity. Okay. Well, some of you may not know fully. Um, Puerto Rico was once a possession of Spain and was a possession of Spain for 400 years. Of course, back in 1898, there was a conflict known as the Spanish American War, of which the United States fought and defeated Spain. So, as a result, what left of the Spanish Empire, which consisted of the island Puerto Rico, the island Cuba, the Philippines, and Guam, which was for most of the remaining Spanish Empire, um, they became um, U.S. territories um, for in various degrees. Cuba will eventually gain its independence and become a sovereign nation. The Philippines, in time, became an independent nation. However, Guam and Puerto Rico are okay. Now, the official title of Puerto Rico is that they are a Commonwealth of the United States. With all due respect, Puerto Rico is a colony, um, and the citizens were granted U.S. citizenship in 1917. So we are all United citizens. So therefore, in order for all that's needed for people from Puerto Rico, okay, and I see we have a guest. So before I guess I'm going to state the following. The views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host or the channel. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host or the channel is prohibited. By appearing on the channel, you waive your rights to your image. Some of the views that people might hold may be considered offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And now we're going to bring in my guest. Good evening.
How you doing?
Hey, fine. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just coming out the gym.
Oh, okay. So, the topic for tonight is: do mainline Puerto Ricans have an identity crisis?
Well, I mean, I guess they do, depending on what what generation it is.
Well, I think part of it has to do with the generation. Also, it has to do with the upbringing, mainly the upbringing regarding the first generation mainline Puerto Ricans. Now,
Yeah,
in speak Spanish. Now, mind you, it's not good Spanish necessarily. It's Spanish nevertheless. However, when it comes to the second generation going forward, many of them see themselves as Americans. Many of them they do not speak the language of their parents or their grandparents. Many of
I
them
mean,
do not know customs.
yeah, because it's like I have friends that actually fall in that category, meaning that they're like maybe second generation or maybe third and fourth, depending on what time their parents got here from Puerto Rico. Because
Hmm.
with the times and everything like that, you in New York, you actually see like fifth and sixth generations of Puerto Ricans. And what I mean by that, you'll have kids who had kids. You get what I'm trying to say? So when you actually have that environment, whatever,
Yeah.
and certain people that are not actually well versed in Spanish in New York, you would actually you actually will get that, whether people will like it or not.
Hmm.
And then there's another thing
Yeah.
too, because certain people, because there's a lot of mixture and everything like that. You have certain people who will claim Puerto Rican, even though that they might have Italian roots, or one Puerto Rican parent, or they cannot, either they're mixed and they can't really speak the language after all, because it's case for example for like my cousin's wife, right? She has partial Puerto Rican roots,
Hmm.
but she doesn't speak the language. And and my cousin is a first generation Dominican American, but his father is black and his mom's is Dominican. But yes, he don't speak the he don't speak the language either. So you're gonna have a whole bunch of Hispanics with kids with partial Hispanic ancestry that may not even know the language at all, and that's the way of being Americanized in America. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. You know what? I actually agree. Now, um, is that the same problem with Dominicans as after the first generation?
I mean, if you really look at it, right, there's not like too much of second and third generation Dominicans as of yet. You get what I'm trying to say? I mean, if they are, it's like it will be like to the point that some people might retain their roots and some people may not. Meaning that depending on the intermarriage and everything like that, because certain Dominicans they don't want to listen to the fact that Dominicans have actually been in the United States since maybe the 1940s. So when I say my experience, as I did in the other stream, certain people were quick to go around and try to tell me, oh, that my parents weren't there or anything like that. When the fact is, they can't really speak anything because I'm telling them about a time that they don't know. So when they're talking about, oh yeah, I knew Dominicans, okay, but you didn't know Dominicans in the 1970s. So your point is invalid. You get what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah.
we might have like third and fourth generation Dominicans, right? But yet the Dominican community will not know them because they might be so seeped into Americana. You may not know if they're third or fourth generation Dominican anyway, unless you actually look at their family roots.
Hmm. Yeah. And one thing, one point that I made when it was on Fighter Stream, and people again was raising the issue regarding your identity. With the exception of Fighter, the only other person that actually met you face to face was myself.
Right.
Okay. And the thing is, and again, and the thing is, again, and this is something that I wish people would try to understand. First of all, what the whole point of trying to dispute your identity?
I'm
What's the whole?
I'm going to tell you why there's a dispute with with my identity. My identity goes against all the racial stuff that they're preaching. So you even have like a guy trying to tell me, a fighter, like in the comments, that we're not Dominican because of because me and fighter, we have quote unquote like the same ancestry since our families are from the same town. So with that, he's trying to bring up that, okay, that black people never existed in the Dominican Republic until it was the Haitians and the West Indians and the African Americans. And then he want to try to make something which is not, when the fact is that there were black people there were black people in the Dominican Republic before that. So therefore, he's trying to go and push the racist narrative. So there, certain people want to push the racist narrative. So therefore, they could actually make themselves look good in front of the white racist, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but look, anyone that has some brain cells that has not turned to mush, know that the African influence have been not just in the Dominican Republic, but also in Puerto Rico and some of the Caribbean islands, and to lesser degree in Latin America for about 500 years. First of all, because when the Spaniards came, uh, they made the indigenous people slaves. Okay, and then many of them did not bring women. So men, being men, they're going to satisfy their carnal desires with the females that are available. Some of them were consensual, others were the victims of rape. Okay? So when the Spanish brought the Africans to what's considered Latin America, okay, what did some of the Spaniards did? They exercised their carnal desires on the African women. Okay, when two men engage in adult activity, what's going to happen? You're going to produce offspring. So therefore, you're going to have uh, melanated people who speak Spanish. Okay, and I got for the morons out there, Latinos. Okay, particularly Caribbean Latinos, we're ethnic mixed to begin with. So this whole notion of trying to identify with a particular phenotype doesn't make sense, and particularly when racists look at all us in the same light. So
I mean, if you actually look at it, I hate to say it, but I'm talking to Don Jose. That's my wife. As I was
okay,
saying,
well,
some of the people, right? If you actually look at at the way that they're actually presenting stuff, they're actually telling a lot of falsehoods. For example, I'm not going to go around and say who I don't respect because I'm not going to give them light. But all the time, if you actually look at the stream with Fighter, right? The haters were saying a whole bunch of stuff because they were mad because I brought evidence on who I was. So, with all that said, they were trying to say that, oh, that they were trying to push that my dad was not speaking Dominican Spanish, or I was wearing a wig. So therefore, at the end of the day, I just know that these people are just morons. And even though it was a good stream, you can't go around and I just learned a lesson with that. You cannot convince people who are actually committed to misunderstanding you. So
Mhm.
that's what I
Yeah,
got out of it.
yeah. Well, when you take a look, at the mixed community, okay,
Hmm.
many of them also have issues regarding identity. First of all, because many of them, particularly those who are mulatto, okay,
Hmm.
whether
Yeah.
they may have a white parent and the other one have a black parent. So there's an issue regarding who they are, because you have some people call them one phenotype, and then you have others call them another phenotype, and at times they're not accepted by either phenotypes. So you know, which I do understand why they're trying to have their own separate community, why they're trying to have their own separate identity,
Right.
because unfortunately, because it's like they're too dark to be white, and they're not black enough. Okay, so
Right.
that's an issue that Malaus have. Also, that's the issue with multi-generational mixed people have. Also, that's a
Hmm.
big issue where the Golden Sphere has as well. Also regarding um, you know, other mixed with people. What
Yeah.
people don't understand is that
Hmm.
within a good 20 years or so, most of this country is going to be ethnically mixed. There's not going to be such a thing as a pure black person or a pure white person, okay, or a pure indigenous person, because people do intermarry, people do engage in intercourse, and as a result, you produce offspring.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some people do not get it, or will never get it.
No, it's not that they will never get it. It's just because since the 19th or 20th century, right?
Yes.
Uh, and this is a notion that a lot of people are afraid of. Think about it. The black, Hispanics, and everybody else unite, right? The quote unquote white people will be afraid because the racist ones, because they will think like, okay, we're ganging up on them. You get what I'm trying to say? So all these stuff,
Yeah.
all these guys
Um,
are just agents of division.
yeah. Okay. Excuse me. I just want to acknowledge the fact that the 18th love is in the house. Good evening, Joaquin.
Hey, shout out to my YouTube dad, Jose Negron. What's going on? Shout out to Don. How you guys doing today?
Okay, fine. Oh, by the way,
We good.
happy first day of winter.
Yeah, winter is officially here. I got my 40 belows out. I got my Canada Goose and my 40 belows and all my sweaters and everything else.
Okay. The topic for tonight: do mainland Puerto Ricans have an identity crisis? I would submit to you some do and some don't. What's your opinion on the subject?
Well, from the outside looking in, I grew up with Puerto Ricans since I was a kid. Like I've, been around Puerto Ricans since I was a kid, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Puerto Ricans have always represented their Latinness. Um, you have some Puerto Ricans that have a close kinship with African Americans if they grew up in various neighborhoods, which is like it's like that in Chicago, no different than New York. Um, and it depend and
Hmm.
a lot of that kinship that a lot of people don't understand comes from levels of discrimination that Puerto Ricans faced in the inner cities. You know, I think a lot of people tend to forget that Puerto Ricans have been in the mainland since what the 30s, the 20s, or somewhere around there.
Hmm.
So even here within my city where I was from, it was a lot of discrimination with housing, discrimination with education. They were being attacked by white street gangs that was in the neighborhoods that they were occupying. So gradually they had certain, though not as harsh, but had certain experiences that was close to African Americans, and especially with hip hop in the Bronx, and when you look at the movies Beat Street, and you look at the movies, um, you know, uh, Crush Groove, and the Cold Crush, and different guys like that. It was pretty much a creation that a lot of Boricua was involved in because it was coming from the streets, and you're talking about both blacks and Puerto Ricans that had nothing. Growing up in the inner cities, especially with the Bronx being impoverished at that time, abandoned buildings, different things like that, and you have some people of Puerto Rican descent that didn't learn Spanish because due to traumatizing experiences that their parents might have experienced, that they didn't teach them Spanish. So it's a lot of things that a lot of people don't take into account. You know, for most of what I know, most Puerto Ricans that I know have always identified with their Spanish heritage and their African heritage. You know, um, of course, I learned about the Tainos and everything, and I don't think it's an identity crisis at all. I think it's a um, identity based off of being in the United States. Now, if you want to say it's a difference between the United States Puerto Rican identity from multiple generations and an identity from Boricuas on the island, then you can say that. But other than that, I don't. I just think it's a different identity compared to that of the island.
Well, the fact of the matter is, there are differences when you compare the Puerto Ricans that were born and raised on the island compared to us that were born and raised in the mainland. And this is something that I have discussed on previous streams. Now, I'm just going to give you the example of my family. Um, Among me and my siblings, we do have at least some cultural knowledge regarding our culture. We do speak Spanish. Um, it's kind of like a gringo version of Spanish, but it is understandable. Unfortunately, with my nephews and nieces, and then with the following generation, they don't appear to have that much of a knowledge of culture. Now, language, I mean, language is can be taught. Okay, that's not the big issue. The big issue is that if you don't know your identity, you don't know who you are. And I do see that with some of the people of the second and the third generation, even the fourth generation. So that's the reason why I say yes and no. Many of them don't have an identity crisis because their parents actually instill the value of being American and Puerto Rican. In the case of me, uh, my parents put so much of an emphasis for me to learn English that whenever I try to speak Spanish, they will say speak in English, which is why my Spanish is kind of like a gringo version of Spanish. So let's see if we can get Don Armando's point of view now that he's back.
I'm there. I'm here, Don Jose.
Okay. All right. Uh, Joaquin, do you wish to comment?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to comment. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that that is a situation with a lot of people across the board. That's not just something with Puerto Ricans. If those
Mhm.
if people lose those cultural customs as time goes on, more than likely you're going to become more Americanized. We can just use New Orleans for example. New Orleans was known as a French colony. You know, they have some remnants of the French culture within New Orleans due to the architecture and different words and food and different things like that. But it's no longer French culture because as time went on, it's become blended with various other cultures that was there in that land. Like I believe the last New Orleans or Louisiana newspaper that was published in French was in 1910. You have some people that still speak Cajun French, but that's becoming almost a forgotten language. I actually seen a video where a woman from France was able to decipher some of the things that people were saying in Cajun French uh, from from New Orleans. But it's important as time goes on for um, you know people to keep those customs from the from the islands or from the old country and different things like that to pass down from generation to generation. But even as time goes on, they will become more Americanized. And with you being from New York, Jose, we can take the Italians for example. The Italians of the early 1900s are not the same Italians of today. You know, within New York City, a lot of Italians today don't even speak Italian. They have the names, they have certain customs, but they don't have that authentic Italian identity due to the fact that they've been in the United States for so long. I mean, I'll take Black Americans for another example. Our culture is something different from the continent of Africa based off of the fact that you know, different things occurred here in the United States where we lost a lot of those customs, but we still are of African ancestry. We still are of African descent. There's no, getting around that. And there may be certain things, well, at least not to my knowledge, but it may be certain things that we may do that may have traces of certain cultures and tribes back to the continent of Africa. No different than, music within the DR and music within Haiti or music within the island of Puerto Rico or Cuba and Jamaica and different things like that. So as time goes on, especially when you're in a country of multiple different ethnicities with multiple customs, unless you plan on isolating yourself and keeping that strong connection back to either the islands or the continent or the mother country of which you come from, things are going to is going to become a little bit diluted.
Hmm. Yes, and well, what some people they don't understand when it comes to the um, African American community is that first of all they were forcibly stripped of the various different cultures that existed in Africa, the cultures, the ways, the languages, and you know you forced servitude for 250 years. As a result, you have to develop your culture in order to adapt. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yeah, I mean, regarding African Americans, but I was just saying, like in general, a lot of people lose the tradition of the islands or the traditions of certain customs within the continent, or different people just coming from Europe and everything is going to slowly transform into something else, because when you're living in a country like the United States, where it's multiple ethnicities with multiple different backgrounds, more than likely newer generations are going to get influenced as well by whatever is the prominent culture within the United States. But as long as the parents are doing their job with, making sure they pass some of those customs or all of those customs and traditions down to, their children, then I think, you'll be able to maintain some authenticity of their culture. Like, I've heard people online say, when they came in, they wasn't allowed to speak English in their homes. It was only Espanol. So that will, because they wanted their children to speak Spanish and be proud of um, whatever Latin country that they descended from, whether it be in South America or the Caribbean. And, just, make sure that they maintain those customs within their ethnic background. So I think as time goes on, it's very strong. As long as you're here, you will, some of those customs will become a little bit, um, faded as time goes on.
I mean, in that case, when I grew up, I mean, I learned Spanish. Well, I spent Spanish, and then I learned Spanish from the streets and from high school. So I could actually read in Spanish. I'm not going to say what level, but I could understand what I'm reading. But when it comes to, to speaking, I do not speak it in the grammatical form. And I still got an American accent when it comes to some words.
Okay. Excuse me. I just want to acknowledge the fact that the intro is in the chat. Ramon, if you wish to join the panel, the link is there. If you're not able, I do understand. Now, I do want to let people know that 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 the 18th letter, Donamando, and the Intro Boricua have their own channels. So I'm going to ask that if you have not done so, please subscribe and check their content. Good evening, Ramon. Happy first day of winter.
Good evening, Don Jose. How you doing? What's going on,
Fine.
Rakim? Armando,
Shout
what's
out to
going
my
on?
Hey,
boy. Shout out to my boy Ramon.
Yes, yes. What's going on, fellas?
The topic for tonight: do mainland Puerto Ricans have an identity crisis?
I think that unfortunately some Puerto Ricans might have diaspora Puerto Ricans might have, and this is say I'm saying this out of love because I'm just observing it. There might be an issue of identity deficiency. They might know about kind of like what their ancestry is, but because of reasons that are not their fault, they may not have been exposed to the culture enough to be comfortable in it. They might be more urban. They are more Americanized. They might be they may be of a certain age, and they see themselves as identifying more with urban North America. Maybe not so much as much with being Puerto Rican. Maybe that's something that can change later on, because I think that with growth, when you grow up, then maybe that little by little can become more and more important for you. So hopefully that's what happens, because I know it cannot happen for me, because when I was a kid I didn't care about I didn't care so much about the local traditions of the island. I was actually more into kind of like the dance music that was on the radio, the early hip hop that was on the radio, the kind of like the pop culture that was all around us. I wasn't caring so much about what maybe my folks were having more of a good time with, which was the salsa and the merengue of the of the time. This was before bachata became a thing in the island when I was a kid. So I didn't care so much about that, but later on, I did recognize that that had more to do with who I am, and it is part of my identity, and I wouldn't want to change it. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's just that when I was younger, I wasn't caring so much about that because I associated kind of like the more of the tradition of being Puerto Rican, associated it more with my parents or people that were my
Yeah.
elders and things like
Hey, Ramon, you was more so into youth culture,
yeah,
what you would call youth culture, because it was the same. Like for me, I didn't like now. I appreciate Dusty's and old school soul music more today, but when I was a kid, I mostly just loved hip hop. I thought that was for older people and different things
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind
with,
of how it was.
yeah, with me, I'll
Mhm.
tell you what it was with me when it came to music. I
Mhm.
loved listening to merengue, even though I didn't understand it. But nobody could tell me, okay, like what a Spanish person can't trick me into saying like which was merengue and which was salsa or anything like that because I already knew. The only thing is that I didn't know what they were saying.
Yeah,
Second of all, second of all, whenever I used to go to my aunt's house, like my mom's older sister, she always used to play the merengue. So I already knew how to dance a merengue and everything like that through my aunts.
yeah,
And certain people would be like, "Oh, you were so Americanized. You don't know me." And half the people they could talk all their stuff.
mm,
It's I'm gonna be honest. After on their show with Fighter, right? Much respect to Fighter and everything like that. I don't. There's certain people I don't respect anymore. One of them, well, I'm not gonna say this, but let's put it like this: the hairy one. I don't respect that person anymore. You know what I'm saying? Not that I ever did, but even more so, I don't even respect that person anymore because it just shows like how ignorant a person could be. Like a person that blatantly says that they hate AA culture and black people and everything like that. Like, what you got to prove? And then whenever I declare that I'm a black Dominican,
Okay.
they'll be the first one to go around and tell me that I'm not. I'm like, why can't I live my truth? I have to go around and live a lie that y'all trying to propagate on my people.
Yeah, hey Don, I just wanted to say, brother, because we've had discussions about this before. You don't have anything to prove to these people,
I don't
man.
have.
These people, I mean, these people are. I ain't even gonna go there, but we know the type of mindset that some of these people have on here. You don't have to. It's 11 million Dominicans on the island and 2 million here in the diaspora, man. Those 3 or 4 ain't gonna hurt. So don't even sweat it.
I'm not even.
Okay.
I'm not even sweating it.
Guys,
It's just that. It's just that the whole mindset right now, right? I mean, ever since you see a lot of Hispanic and Americans or Hispanic and African Americans are uniting, it's like we have like all these forces that are trying to just break up our unity. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm gonna name them. You got the Hispano taps, then you got and I don't want to be dissing anybody, but the ones that call themselves the FBA, and you have all these groups and ideologies that they have like a separatist mindset, I'm talking about Hispanic and African Americans. And it's like, since we're trying to unite, we have to go around and call these entities out while we're trying to unite. So it's just it's just crazy in these days that we're living in.
No, but something that happened actually, maybe this is something that you might prefer to talk about in private. But I have been meaning to talk to you about about what happened with with that live. I'm just gonna say here on the air is that you don't have to explain your identity. If you one thing is sharing about your identity, and another thing is being put in a position where you're having to explain to somebody who's not even of the of our group. I mean, one thing. Let me put it this way. Let's say somebody like Akim, being Afro American. Okay,
Right.
he comes to me and he asks me questions that have to do with my identity. I don't have a problem with that because that is sharing info, sharing
Yeah,
information.
I'm sharing info, but then the thing is though, which was funny, is that
Yeah.
there was like, oh, um, they were trying to go around and say all these stuff. I'm like, first of all, I went up and I tried and I was like, I was just there because I'm like, yo, because certain people they won't be like, okay, you did a stream, now you left. Okay, but guess what? You had certain people that were trying to say, "Oh yeah, you did no masculinity." I'm like, really? So if a guy's standing there and he's on his foot, right, and he's saying what he is, and I'm telling you my story, but most people want to go around and have their ignorant stuff. I mean, that aspect, yeah, that was a little bit whack. But then within the show, which is funny, which I don't know if y'all seen, was Zacharias and this chick named Nona. They actually went at it like maybe for an hour or 2 hours, I might say. Very interesting. So to me, at the end of the day, I just went up and even though I said what I had to say, certain
Mhm.
people will try to go around and act like they were trying to do whatever. But most of the accusers were actually made stupid. Like there was a guy that was trying to tell me who I was, and then they kept dissing him, talking about that he got something down his throat or something. So it was just haywire. I could actually say that.
Yeah, but I just wanted to speak on that too, man, because the funny things about what you just said with both, and certain aspects that I had spoke with Ramon and different people about this, and certain aspects of FBA that I do agree with, but I know for most of it, it's a lot of lies mixed with truth, and but another thing too I noticed with both the dynamics of these groups is that if you don't believe fully in their ideology, then you're not a part of either one of them, whether it be the
Yeah,
Hispano Taps or the FBAs. If you
yeah.
don't believe fully in their ideology, then you're not a part. So it goes to show you people want to blindly follow something without critically thinking. And that's most people, because I'm gonna just keep it real, man. Most people are stupid. So
I
it's
mean,
easy
yeah,
to get people that don't critically think to blindly follow something while somebody's able to monetize their anger and their rage and walk out the back door with the bag, man.
No, and what I was trying to add
Excuse me.
to that. No, yeah, Jose.
Yeah, I'm sorry. First of all, YouTube Rehab is in the chat. Good evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. And
shout
look,
out to
one
Reese from
thing
Philly.
I'm gonna say, and oh yes, Freeze from Philly is there. Thank you very much. One thing we have to understand, we have to make a distinction regarding the responsible and the mature FBAs and the immature and irresponsible people who are FBA. We do have to make a distinction between those two. Unfortunately, the people like Tarish, black skin is amazing, whatever. They're the ones that making the loudest voices And what they're doing is they're casting the aspersion that all FBAs are the same way. With all due respect, that is not true. There are responsible FBAs. There are mature FBAs. There's also responsible ADOS and irresponsible ADOS. So I think we need to make a distinction between the
Which you
responsible and mature FBAs and the immature ones.
okay? Yeah, but I understand that, Jose. But with respect, unfortunately, the supposedly moderate FBAs, they're very quiet, and they're letting the out loud FBAs to run rampant and run their mouths and kind of like speak for the whole of them. I mean, they're not pushing back. They're not making corrections, and they're not kind of like stating that they don't think the same as the ones that are always talking loud, because the ones that are not talking loud, they still believe a lot of what somebody like Tariq will be saying, and they believe all the stereotypes about us, particularly when it comes to the Dominicans, and they believe all of that. They believe all of them. They believe all the stereotypes, even if they are the so-called moderates, because they just believe what their leader tells them, and they don't look things up on their own, and they don't talk to people on their own, and they don't check out the facts
That's what
on
that,
their
that's
own.
that's why I say, because it was a black guy that I guess he was on Radical's stream. I forgot his name. I know I was pissed off and I cursed him out.
Well,
But
Missy, because he was the one who was going at
no, no,
you,
no, 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 not
uh,
not 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 not,
railing you.
not easy. I'm talking about when it was the FBA, right? And all the other stuff. I'm like, Nat Measy. I mean, to me, I'm like, I'm not gonna go around and do whatever, because I see through what Nat Measy's actually was doing. And you know what he was actually doing, trying to just get at me for the second time. He was trying to go around and get cool with the hairy woman once again. So my thing is that you could go around and talk about um people who are this and that, but the thing is though, your thing is that you're just trying to go at me because you want to get with the hairy woman. That's it.
The hairy woman. I will
Yeah.
have to. I will have to look over who that is. I don't know who.
Uh, I'm not. No, I'll make it easier for you.
Uh,
Blood Moon. So
okay.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, yeah,
I
Okay.
have to laugh at that one.
yeah. The reason why I say
But
that is because she always be bragging that she don't shave and all this other stuff. You know, extra information that we don't really need to know. You get what I'm trying to say?
Oh,
Um, so
well,
I haven't seen this woman for
Oh,
nothing. So she always want to put it out there that she don't shave. So that's why I say she's a hairy woman. I haven't met
well,
her or anything like that. So
I just wanted to say one thing when it comes to Nakmeezy. Nakmeezy has definitely clarified that he trolls, that he goes to different panels and stuff like to troll. So I really do believe he might have just been trolling you, um, Don. And another thing to what Ramon was saying with the FBA situation, like even me personally, I've went to different live streams, and when I didn't agree, I've got cursed out and kicked off.
to
And I've tried to, say certain things. I haven't really spoken about it on my platform, because even when you look at on my platform, I barely even went into race, because I just want us to, because I've been exhausted from all of these different platforms so much, that I really like to make it with topics where everybody can come through and give their opinions and different things like that.
yeah,
But
because
I definitely agree with what Ramon was saying, and I've actually tried to check, because it's all about, nobody's thinking logically. Everything is about rage and trying to one up somebody, and and a lot of these people that are doing this are not intelligent people that are
I'm
trying.
like I'm like, yeah, to say that I felt like I lost after that interview. Even though I was talking to fighter and stuff, some of the panelists I felt like just down lost a couple of brain cells after it. I was like, man, screw it. And I was like, it is what it is. Still on my 2 feet. I'm comfortable at the end of the day who I am. That's it. That's all that matters. But
Yeah.
with all that said, it's like, yo, I mean, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
I had to retire from doing certain streams because my computer was acting up. But as soon as I guess I put certain stuff so I could make more space on again, I think I'll be good and ready by next year or next week or whatever the case may be. Well, we're
Mhm.
all there anyway.
Yeah. Well, one thing I have said this before, I'm going to say again that the responsible FBAs had need to be more vocal and put the irresponsible ones in check. I've said that from the beginning, and if we look, I know that there's something that are very quick to highlight regarding Latinos that are racist. However, when it comes to casting a light regarding some of their community that's racist, oh, there's something, oh, it's a reaction because of such and such. It's a reaction because of whatever, whatever. Okay, if you're going to cast a light on the stupidity on one group, have that same energy. And one thing to bear in mind, when you point the accusing finger, four of them return to you.
Yeah, yeah, it's very easy to point the finger at us because there is no consequence. I mean, we're not a protected group like that. I mean, so it's easy to kind of like point for the FBAs to point the finger at us and call us colorists and call us racist. But look at who's saying that. These guys have been suspect of doing those exact same things. But it's easy to turn to us and point the finger at us and accuse us and call us things because there is no consequence. I mean,
Well,
it's just target.
this is one thing, and we on this panel could all agree on, right? And
Yeah.
Rakim, you could agree on this too.
Mhm.
I s- I would like for all the ignorant Hispanotypes, right, and the ignorant FBA, right. I want to just actually put them in an arena and let them duke it out.
Yeah, have
No,
a platform
no,
and they
no,
argue with each other.
no,
That would be interesting.
yeah, yeah. I'm saying like they do that, right? And by the time that what they're when they tire out of their stupidity, they will have to either be friends
Yeah.
or
Yes, squash it.
or we could actually see a free boxing match.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let them fight it out, and then the rest of us that are more level headed, we just kick back and watch and see what happens. And then
Yeah,
they're gonna have to when they're done, when they're tired of it, they're gonna have to squash it. Whoever wins, whatever wins, because that's how it is in real fights. All of us that grew up and we had to actually duke it out every once in a while, you know how it happens. There will be a fight, but if it's handled properly, after the fight, whatever the beef it will be squashed, and one can put it behind you. We will put it behind us, and sometimes those two that were fighting could talk, and they could be cool after that. So maybe that's what
Yeah,
they need to do.
yeah, because it's like
yeah.
people are too comfortable being in the behind the computer screen or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Because another thing too, we got to take into account is a lot of people are miserable in their personal lives, man. The internet is really all they have to express themselves and express their frustration. But one thing I would just make just a slight pushback on with FBA that I've noticed with coming within these spaces is not just um, Latinos that they talk about. They talk about also Asians, Indians, Arabs. A lot of people within these different groups that are more
Mm.
white adjacent that really like to try to side with um, pretty much racist white people that are in the system. Do I agree with the name calling and disparaging? And one thing I said with Tariq Nasheed, no, absolutely not. And that's why I mostly watch Yvette Carnell, because based off of the content I've seen with her, she don't have to do any of these things.
Mm.
And the funny thing with Tariq is that coming to bite him in the ass, because nobody's going to take you serious when it comes to actually doing business once they review your content and see that you're calling people disparaging names. Whether you say it was roasting and everything or not, that's not going to be taken seriously when it comes to going to handle business, because
Uh,
people don't have to say you're just a racist. They can say, look
what-
at your content and some of the things he said, and then the proof is in the pudding. Whether you felt like it was roasting, joking, or getting on, that's not to be played with when it comes to doing business.
yeah, one thing that I have to ask you, you being a Chicago native and everything like that, and I've been wanting to ask you this, Rakeem, and is a point that you actually brought up with all the pushback that certain African American athletes and celebrities have been getting due to um I guess a documentary or ideology that has been in the United States for I could say 100 years. What are your thoughts now pertaining to I guess current African American men of business and our connections during Kanye affecting business. I guess because of Ye's antics or whatsoever. Like, what is your view on Ye's antics? How is it going to reflect on the African American community? I want to know what your input about that.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I want to say shout out to Fulana La Cubana. I see you out there in the chat, Fulana. Shout out to you. And me personally, you know, we all remember when Kanye West first came out. We all remember the college dropout. I was a, Kanye West fan. I still appreciate his music, but personally, I don't like Kanye. I don't, because Kanye is not about black people, and I don't like black people like Kanye, because it's all about individualism and trying to be accepted until you get, treated a certain way. Then you want to say it's a community thing. And that's exactly what Kanye has done. Kanye has disparaged, he's made disparaging remarks about slavery. He made a lot of different disparaging remarks disrespecting black Americans. And then he has this inflated ass ego. And it goes to show you, in my personal opinion, because I'm going to just speak how I feel. In my personal opinion, you have a lot of people, like I said before, a lot of people that are stupid. They can't critically think. They try to make it seem like he got some type of deep message in what he's trying to say. And they treat Kanye like he's a child. He's not a child. The man is an adult. Um, the things that he said about, the Israelis and whatnot, that's something we already knew. It's not a person on this panel or a person on this stream that didn't know majority of Israelis own Hollywood. They owned, you know, different teams in sports. They own the music industry. That's not, yes, we know that some of these people within this group try to exploit black Americans through bad business contracts, through controlling the narrative in Hollywood, different things like that. So he's not saying anything profound. He was all down with doing business with a lot of these guys until he couldn't get his way. And then he started throwing a temper tantrum like he always does. And then now he's trying to say, the black
Uh,
community. But I can't sit here and defend him either when you get up here and say things like you love so much things about Adolf. If he was bright enough, he would know that Adolf didn't care for black people either, and he practiced racism through eugenics and trying to compare black people to the Aryans, which was the master race he was trying to do. So, which he was trying to create. So after the Israelis was taken over, and make no mistake, Adolf would have been could have still his tactics can still be in effect today had he stopped. He had almost half of Europe. So when you get up there and you say stuff like that, the Africans and people of African descent was going to be next after he was done with the Israelis. So the stupidity of that,
okay.
I don't understand.
I mean, it's like it,
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't mean to comment. I just want to acknowledge the fact that Denise is in the chat. Good evening, Fulana. And and one thing I want, when it comes to certain people, they love to talk trash regarding Latinos, but what they do, they go and smash Latinas, okay, or they marry them or what have you. So, if you're going to be talking about being FBA, and what have you, and trash talking Latinos, and then you're going to get with our women. I mean, it's like,
it,
make it
it
Oh
make
yeah, yeah, yeah. There
sense.
are some.
That's
This
all
is
yeah,
I'm
some.
going to
yeah,
say.
that is that is one thing I never really understood, and I'm telling you of stuff me growing up in the Bronx, right? It's like you have some guys that that they're respectful towards the Latino community and everything, right? And then you have some guys who are so ignorant that they go and they'll have with the they might have a Puerto Rican or a Dominican or a Colombian girlfriend or whatever the case may be, right? But yet but yet in the same light, they'll go around, they'll disrespect the men, like maybe the fathers or the brothers, or something of that matter. So my thing is that okay, I'm just gonna tell you my aspect of me being a New Yorker, right? And this is from my view. When I grew up with African Americans, right? The whole thing of the baddest chick. I'm saying in the hip hop era, in the hip hop mindset of New York, right? Like the baddest chicks were okay, were Puerto Rican, like the hard to get chicks. First were the Cubans and the Puerto Rican chicks, right? Then it came to the Dominican females as time went on. And then when people started getting more with Dominican females, they now the top thing is a South American or a Brazilian female. And 9 times out of 10, an Asian woman with a black woman's body. So these are like the a lot of people want to use women of different ethnicities as a status symbol to try to say, oh yeah, you make it, or like if a person's or you with a person, they're like, oh, how you got that female? When the fact is, it's not. Certain people could try to say, oh yeah, it's about me trying to get with somebody who's different. When the other part is that there's two people who are different ethnicities that fall in love with each other, and that's it. But I'm saying as far as a New Yorker and of the mindset, because I of the hip hop mindset, which is in New York, and people that actually listen to hip hop or whatsoever the case may be. That's how certain people try to make all these females. So if a black man gets with an Arab woman, right? That's like a status symbol to certain people, when the fact or a perception within the hood. When the fact is, it's not even a perception. It's it's just two people that met. They have a common interest, and they started getting together. But certain people, they'll be like, oh, since they might be in
Okay, something that I wanted to add to that is that some of these guys that are talking about
I'm sorry,
they
just come
want to
in.
go through different. Oh, I haven't been able to. Okay, go on. Yes, Jose.
Okay, no, identity with the mainland Puerto Ricans is that some of them they don't know who.
We can't hear you. Yeah, you're cutting out, Jose. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, Jose, but you're cutting out. But really quick, something that I wanted to add in is that some of these guys that are, as you were saying, Jose, that the are kind of like talking about us and putting us down, and then they go on and on talking about the lands of our ancestors are the shitholes, but they want to go to the shitholes to get women. So like, what the hell is it? I mean, we're supposed to be so inferior, but you want to get to the woman on our lands, but we're supposed to be inferior to you. I mean, you're supposed to have it better. I mean, don't be talking about that we are inferior, that our lands are shitholes, but you want the woman in our shitholes. So I mean, stay in your hood. Stay in your hood. Stay with the woman in your hood.
But but let me okay, but let me just highlight the fact that Denise has her own channel, which is Latin Splaining. So I'm going to encourage you, if you have not done so, please subscribe to her channel. And also, Morena has her own channel. I know it's been a while since she air any content, but please check out their content. So that's all I'm going to say. Now, I see it as an interesting point, which I'm let me just read it. How come some men be inferior but have their women in our place and preserve the femininity at the same time? That makes no sense.
I
And
wanted to
then there's
speak
the other.
on. Oh, I'm sorry, Jose. I'll let you finish. I just wanted to speak
No,
on what
go
Jose
ahead.
and
Go ahead.
well, first and foremost, I wanted to say I definitely agree. It definitely should be mutual respect, but I do know that part of it is we got to be honest. It's a lot of men too within the Latin community that just don't like black men dating Latin women. I've heard numerous stories of, hey, why are you dating that Mayate? Why are you dating that Cocolo? Why are you dating that Moreno? Different things like that. It's certain guys that are just, looking to,
yeah,
and then see the thing is too, the dynamic on what we're not understanding is that we know a lot of the times the beauty standard that's pushing the United States because these guys don't think. They don't think. They're just blindly going with what they saw on television. They seen the hot Latin woman on television. They don't really, and they just kind of like, oh man, I want this Latina and different things like that. And a lot of these dudes just don't. They just don't think. But it has been tension there of black men. Like a lot of people just don't like black men dating uh, certain Latin women. Whether some may be Puerto Rican, some may be Dominican, some may be Mexican. They just don't like it. And I think a lot of the times too, that's where a lot of the pushback actually comes from, where people start hurling insults.
yeah.
Um,
I could actually see that, but then I'm just gonna tell you a case that really happened to me recently, which I don't get, and all y'all could bear with me. Now, in my own place of work, right, there was a Hispanic woman that was trying to that I guess admired my features or whatever the case may be. But I never really paid her any mind because I was on the verge of getting married around that time. So I'm just there to work and that's it. Now, the beef that I've had in my work, in my job, is because of a black American guy that wanted a female that did not speak the language. But yet he was so jealous of how this female was paying attention to me. And the thing is though, this guy who was actually a jerk would always try to pick on the smaller Spanish men because he thought that all these guys were supposed to give him information about this female. When the fact is that everybody saw that this guy didn't have it was not all there in his head, and he was a jerk. So a lot of people started not looking towards this man to be a respectful guy or anything like that. And I don't know what he had in his head, but every time he always tried to go after a Hispanic female, he always had some pushback towards a Spanish man or a black man because either they didn't like the way that he came off on people, or certain people didn't like how this guy was coming around and disrespecting their people.
And that's understandable. He should have been. He definitely should have been checked. Dudes like that definitely should get checked. But I'm talking about like the different guys that show respect to the culture. That because the things too that I've also heard online with people, especially talking about Black Americans, it's been some of the most disparaging things that I've ever heard. Like online with. I'm not, of course, saying the whole group, but within individuals within the Latin group, this whole white supremacist adjacent mentality or
Yeah,
colonial 1700s
yeah,
Spaniard mentality that they
yeah.
have,
And,
and
and,
the
and,
things that
and
they saying, I can understand the pushback. I don't agree with the insults, anything like that, but I can definitely understand the pushback. People that come to the United States, they
mhm.
don't understand the way that the system is structured. They don't understand the dynamics of the United States. The only thing that they know is they're able to work and get theirs, and they're looking at your group. Well, why can't y'all do the same without even understanding a lot of things that's going on or a lot of things that have went on? And even throughout a lot of that, we still have a lot of productive people within our group that are pushing to build and pushing to work and different things like that. It's like with some of these guys that's online, they have this ego to have to feel like they're better than somebody. And a lot of them get their rocks off by trying to put down Black American men to make themselves feel like they're more important
Yeah,
or more
yeah.
superior.
And it's
So,
and I don't. And the thing is, though, I do not agree with that. And the reason why I do not agree with that is because I've seen like certain terminologies within the Hispanic communities, which to me is like you actually using these terminologies and you call yourself a Hispanic. So my thing is that, and I'm saying this for you, Rakim. If you ever hear a Hispanic man refer to himself as a Giga Chad, you
Okay, that's white guy talk.
yeah, I
That's
you
don't even know what that means. Like,
Neither
but
do I.
no, that's
right,
white guy. That's what the white guys call
yeah,
themselves. That whole
yeah,
giga chat.
so,
That's like above alpha, right? Like superior
yeah,
to an alpha male. A lot of guys call themselves alpha males, and if they have to call themselves that, if they have to go around the internet calling themselves that they ain't really alpha male.
yeah,
I'm gonna say something controversial because I know that this guy Andrew Tate is rather popular right now, and he's supposed to be this alpha male. I
hmm
disagree. I disagree because the first time that I saw him was when he was having this so-called date with the British girl, this Chian girl in England, and he sits down. That they start talking, and he starts kind of like shouting at her when he disagreed with something, and he wanted to be heard more, and he started raising his voice, and he came across as being emotional. I don't agree with that. I mean, the woman is sitting right in front of him across the table, and he's having to shout out and raise his voice and shout whatever it is that he wanted to say to overtalk her. And that didn't come across as being very masculine. That actually came across as being rather emotional.
Yeah,
So,
my thing is this, and it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Andrew Tate and all that because I don't know all of what it is, but I could tell you right now that you have like a cult that he's like, I guess within the last year or 2 years or whatever, he is
mm,
like a cult like figure, and since he is a mixed guy, of course, it's like it's like
uh,
they actually call that guy. They actually refer to him and maybe a Russian model with the strong jaw. That after they see this Russian model with the strong jaw, I guess this is what they actually called at first. They went up and I read this and I read about this. A Chad was supposed to be a Chad. The definition, I guess, which was curated by the incels on the internet, was a white man who actually
Hey,
was.
I'll be back, fellas. I'll be right back.
mhm.
All right, got you.
No,
Okay.
I know the whole chat,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like the chat, the
Okay.
brass, the sax. Those are kind of
yeah,
like white guy terms, like
yeah.
supposedly
So
alpha white guys. That's
yeah,
what that.
yeah,
That's what.
because they say it was a alpha white guy that's supposed to I guess have a lot of intercourse with women. That was the word of Chad. So therefore, I guess, and then when they have this Russian model with the straw jawline or whatever the case may
Oh,
be.
that looks mad masculine.
Yeah, but you know which image I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, since people have this image of that guy, they actually called that image the Giga Chad. So therefore, they put this man on the this Russian model on the pedestal just because of his strong jaw lines or whatever the case may be. And there's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of forums and everything like that just because of this image. So guys, I guess the white guys now, they actually refer to this guy as the saint of the Giga Chads or whatever the case may be.
Oh, okay. So that was a real guy. I thought that was a drawing because that jaw looks so unrealistic. I thought that was a drawing.
I mean, I mean, I mean, I mean, it might have not. It might.
Maybe it's a real dude. Maybe it's not a real dude. It's just that I've seen the image. I've seen the image of the guy with the unrealistic jaw. I thought that was a drawing, kind of
No,
like
no,
a realistic drawing. But
maybe it might have been maybe it might have been photoshopped, but but the thing is though, it might. The thing is though, everybody. I did my research, and that guy actually turned out to be a real guy.
mhm.
But for some reason, I guess ever since maybe 2021 or something like that, everybody referred to that man as the Giga Chad.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I and they and you know me and Giorgio, he actually recognized me from a Telegram chat because you know Telegram it's an application
Mhm.
where it's uncensored. So it's like you know with all this stuff, that's where I see all this stuff. I say who I am, and then you know most of the time it's just a whole bunch of people who are just pissed off and everything like that. And me and Giorgio, we actually was talking because you know he recognized me. He was, oh yeah, I recognize you from the chat. So that's why it was like okay.
Okay. Excuse me if I can just cut in. Um, I remember. I think it was either last year or earlier. I know. I think it was last year where Denise on Latin explaining. She discussed how comes
Mhm.
um, the issues in on the island of Puerto Rico that
Mhm.
many of the mainland Puerto Ricans are not fully aware, and that there are differences between um, the Puerto Ricans that were born and raised on the island as
Yeah.
compared to those of us that was born and raised in the mainland. Now, I was not personally offended. I just took it as fact because let's keep it real. When it comes to certain issues regarding what's going on in the island, I'm completely ignorant. However, you have certain mainland Puerto Ricans that got very upset simply because Denise was simply stating a fact. Denise, if you're still in the chat, do you recall that stream that you did where you got feedback from some of the mainland Puerto Ricans simply because you're simply stating the fact that there's certain things that we don't know, and it's a reality. And and I look at it this way: if you are letting me know that there's certain things I don't know, that I need to be educated, it's not meant to be an insult. It's meant to enlighten me as far as what's going on.
Well, something that you and I have talked about is that um, it's always a good idea to kind of like reach out if it's a mainlander that is trying to learn something about the island, kind of like reach out to islanders. I mean, we'll be more than happy to share. I mean, we don't have a problem with that. I mean, come on, come to us with an open
Yeah.
mind, and let's start doing kind of like an exchange. I mean,
In
tell us
fact,
about
we
you.
actually
We
did.
tell you about us. Hmm.
In fact, that was a stream that I earlier this year, completely in Spanish, where you had the opportunity to share with me and the audience what was unique regarding the Puerto Ricans that were born and raised in the island, and I was able
Yeah.
to share what's unique regarding us that were born and raised in the United States.
Yeah, uncommon fact. This is very uncommon. I don't know if it is unique to us, but by now there are more Puerto Ricans outside of the island than in it. I mean, I don't think that happens with any other country around around the
Hmm.
world. Every other country around the world, there are more people in the country than outside of it than than the diaspora. Puerto Rico is the opposite. There are more people, more Puerto Ricans outside of the island than in it. I mean, that needs to balance itself out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I recall that she. Okay, I'm sorry, but I recall that Denise got a lot of headache
No, no,
simply
but
for raising that fact.
we will not. We will have to know exactly what that was because I know. Denise like to be controversial a little bit. You know that. You know you like to kind of like
Oh,
push buttons a little bit. Yeah.
okay. Well, okay. I wouldn't necessarily call her controversial. I think what it is that she speaks on stuff that no one wants to talk about.
Hmm.
And Denise, if you disagree with that assessment, please put it in the chat. Okay, and I see it. Okay,
Okay, but they can travel to the island at any time. I have told you about the
I see
example with
it. Okay,
my.
I wish Ricans here rather than get
Uh,
that. Okay.
Like I was telling you, I have told you about the example when it comes to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is from the Bronx, and he had been living in Florida for years, but he had never hopped over to the island. I mean, he started going to the island because of my sister. He's with my sister now, and now he goes to the island and he travels around the islands and all. But it wasn't like that before.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Moreno, hey, Chica, what's up with the monkey head? What does that mean? Okay.
Guys. Okay. First of all, there are 15 people watching this stream, and I only have 6 likes. I mean, can we do a little bit better with the likes, please?
All right.
But you know something. I do appreciate the fact that a lot of people are actually watching this stream, and there's quite a considerate chatter in the chat. So I do appreciate it very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hit the likes, and subscribe.
Yeah. So but let me just but one thing, another point I want to talk about is that we do have African Americans who do show a great deal of respect regarding our culture. I mean, you have the example of the 18th letter.
No,
You
no,
also
but
have the
those are the non-FBAs. We're talking about that. There might be FBAs that are loud, and then maybe FBAs that are more moderate, but the moderates stay quiet and they don't say anything. They don't do any pushback with the loud ones that are always spewing xenophobia. The thing is that they have burned all types of bridges because they don't even like um, people that have the same skin tone of them as them, just because they come from somewhere else, because they see them as their enemies. They see them as the so-called tethers. But that's only because Tariq told them to. I mean, they're not doing their own thinking.
All right, but not for nothing. I don't know what the actual term "thudders" is, but for some reason, I've been hearing that term a lot.
Yeah.
Thudders,
Yeah,
this,
that's an
thudders,
FBA
that.
thing. That's to refer to people that are kind of like of African descent, but they are either from the Caribbean or from the African continent, and the FBAs refer to them as tethers, as in somebody that kind of connects with Black Americans, but only to undermine them or to take something from them, that kind of thing. The thing is that like African immigrants, that's a very tiny group. That's a very small group of people. So they're not really a threat. It's just that again, they're easy targets. They're soft targets. It's easy to talk shit about them without consequence. That's what that's about.
I mean, if you actually look at it, right? I mean, you have certain people, I guess, who are not protected. But the thing is this: if everybody, I'm just saying, everybody had got a crash course on how to treat anybody and everybody in the United States, we would actually have less likely racism. But then, if you actually look at certain parts of the United States that will only push a party propaganda within their cities or anything like that, you would see that most of the people that they would try to say, oh, that Republicans is the best or Democrats is the best without actual knowledge. When you actually be around people who don't really have actual knowledge, or they want to promote an ideology that's been passed down from their grandfather till now, you will have a friction within many communities. whether it will be the whites or the African Americans or whosoever. Because sometimes this hatred of people in general is passed down from like maybe 8 generations.
Hmm. Um, Now, it's easier to blame others because what that does, it takes away something that's for some people, it's like kryptonite, and that is accountability. Okay. As
Well,
long as you can blame someone else for your shortcomings, you're not going to do anything to take a look at yourself and see where you screwed up and what you need to do to correct yourself. As long as there's there's some boogeyman out there, um, to blame for your stupidity or massive insanity. I mean, they're going to continue in their season of denial.
yeah, and it's like to me, I'm just gonna I think I might just open the stream like this Friday. It's not gonna really be on anything as far as the music or stuff. So I'm just gonna try to make a stream on Friday because I know I'm off. So I don't know what time y'all gonna be around, but I would love to talk about something way different. I mean, I would like to reach towards other people or what may have you. So I'm just like, yo, after certain stuff, I'm like, okay, I just want to know certain stuff because if we actually gain knowledge from each other, I think we could actually strengthen relations and stuff because at the end of the day, sometimes certain people within our own communities may not be our strength, but then a person who could be somewhere else could teach us maybe a thing or two that we did not even know about business. If you get my drift.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And let me tell you something. I have learned a great deal from all the people that appear on this platform. Not just you, Don Armando, not just you, Ramon, but also the 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 18th letter, Denise, Rad, um, Brotab once in a while, True Teacher once in a while, and some other people. I have learned a great deal, and I have been blessed to know all of you, and blessed with the fact that all of you are part of the uncommon folk.
Thank you, Don Jose.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all you guys very much. And particularly a huge shout out to Denise because she was the one that inspired me my own channel. And when I first heard it, it's like, who want to hear this old fart talk? I mean, really. But the fact of the matter is that actually people that actually enjoy my content.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. We promoted unity. We did to generate numbers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, Danny. But something that was part of my mentality from the very beginning is that I couldn't go against people of my own group. I mean, that was kind of like my code, and I'm always cool with getting along and talking to people with other groups as a form of alliance, because alliances doesn't mean that one has to stop being what one is.
Yeah.
So I believe in that. I mean, when it comes to alliance, and not the unity. I never believed in the whole unity thing, because unity. There are certain folks that hear the word unity and they feel like a scam. They feel like a scam is coming their way. To a degree, is understandable. If there are kind of like Black Americans that you talk to them about unity and they feel like they're about to be used or something like that, it's understandable given the history. So that's why I don't use that term. I mean, if it is kind of like being able to work with other groups, I would rather call it an alliance. I mean, because in alliances there is strength in that. Nations do it. I mean, that's kind of like what NATO is about.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. So that's a big example of that, and that it can work, but everybody retains their identity.
Exactly. Well, guys, I might be off because I have to go to work tomorrow, sadly. But other than that, it was nice being on the panel. Nice to talk to you again, Ramon. Nice to talk to you, Don Jose. I don't know when y'all having the next stream, but if y'all do, I'll always be there.
Yes, yeah, I'll make sure to
Well,
let you know. So,
thank you very much. Actually, I'm going to be doing a short, you know, stream on Christmas Eve in the morning. Just basically, I'm just going to share my Christmas message, and I'm going to like wish um, the people who are part of the uncommon folk a blessed and happy Christmas and a safe New Year. So after that, I think the next time I'll be on will probably be Monday night.
mhm. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, but thank you
Yep.
very much, John Armando, for stopping by.
Anytime.
yeah. Take care, man.
Anytime.
All right.
Okay.
That's what the unity was for. They just don't want anything at all. Well, I mean, let's respect their wishes. Is that what they want? That let's respect their wishes. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't take it personal.
No, I agree. I agree. And I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. If you don't want to have anything to do with me, that's just fine. We'll just go our separate ways, and then and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, actually I also has to step out. I mean, I'm in the middle of something, but something that I wanted to say, Don Jose, is that I appreciate you letting me be on your panel. Uh, yeah, yeah. And when it comes to the subject itself, we have talked about it before. We have talked about it before, and I'll be the first one to say, diasporans, hey, reach out. I mean, if you feel like you have been disconnected from the culture of your
Yes.
parents or your ancestors, like
Well, thank you.
we're not that hard to reach. So yeah. Yeah. Kind of like if any diaspora wants to connect
Okay. Well,
with somebody like
in any
myself
case,
who is an islander, I mean, they can ask questions and we can have a dialogue. I mean, trying to fill in the blanks. Yeah, Don Jose, my bad.
yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much. And if I don't hear from you, um, for the rest of the week, I just want to wish you a very merry, calm Christmas for you, and a happy New Year. And I do appreciate you know your situation. But thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you, Don Jose. Actually, I'm gonna be traveling this weekend, so I mean, I'm gonna be seeing the fam in Florida. So, but if I have a chance, I'll check out you guys' platforms and streams. I see what Dennis is posting. I say, if you're not cool with Jose, he will jump out of the fucking platform. Uh, I remember that. Yeah, that was classic. That was a classic.
Well, the latest slow tap is an individual known as hybrid vigor.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I kind of have heard. I have heard about the person. But don't pay attention. Don't pay attention. They need your attention. Don't give it to them. Don't feed trolls. Don't feed the trolls attention. And don't just go away.
No, I'm no. You know what?
Mhm.
You know what? Basically, what he's doing is giving me free press. So, thank you, hybrid vigor, for all the attention that you created regarding my platform.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. They're your fans. They're your fans. So that's why they talk about you. They're fans of yours. So which is good. You have fans.
Mhm.
That's a great thing. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Ramon, for stopping by.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We'll talk again soon. I'll be stepping out now. Have a good one. Have a
Yes.
good night. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good night. Have a good night, Ramon. Have a good night, Irby. Um, you know, I still can't believe it. There's still 9 people watching this stream. Um, oh yes, Merry Christmas to you, Fulana, and I hope that you have a wonderful time with whatever way that you are observing the holidays. Okay. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the link one more time. If anyone wants to join the panel briefly. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up because even though I'm free this week, um, the fact of the matter is these I am not going to do 8-hour streams and whatnot. But you're quite welcome. But the fact of the matter is, um, I really do appreciate all the love and support that um, that you have shown me. Okay, and even with all the technical difficulties and all the mistakes that I've made, which have been a lot. Okay, and all the moments where I was not my uh jolly self. I do appreciate all of you. Okay. Basically, the whole point of tonight's stream was to have a rational discussion to see whether or not do mainline Puerto Ricans have identity crisis. So the answer to that is okay. I would say yes and no, and I'm going to explain to you why. Those mainline Puerto Ricans that was taught by their parents to value their culture, our language, and anything that makes us unique and wonderful as Puerto Ricans. No, they don't have an issue. They don't have an issue. But the reality that there are some mainline Puerto Ricans that they are confused. Um, a lot of it's not their fault. It's just that it's just the way things came into being. And I see here we have James Maps. Good evening, sir. It's been a long time since you been in my cyber home, and I do want to let people know that James Maps also has a YouTube channel. So I'm gonna ask that you show some love to him and subscribe to his channel and check out his content. I know that he has not created anything new in a while. Hopefully, soon soon, James, you'll have some um, content. Um, yes, but the fact of the matter is, when I think about when I think about this year, okay, cool. You know what? We all need a break now and then, and the fact of the matter is, this year has been one of those crazy topsy turvy years and what have you. And I'm just gonna do a little self reflection before um, I called this a night. Um, Look, I've I really did take a good look at myself, and there were things that I needed to improve. So I've been trying to take care of that. Also, I do want to let people know, um, for those of you who do believe in the power of prayer, I'm going to ask you to please keep me in your prayers because I just found out this week that I may to undergo surgery. Okay, so it's not anytime soon. However, if and when that does happen, um, I will need to take some time to physically recover. So I do hope that I have your understanding that if there's a time where I'm not airing any content, it's because I'm trying to take care of myself physically. Um, I'm going to share with the people in my in our collective more details, but the fact of the matter is, there is a possibility that I will need to undergo surgery. Okay. Thank you, James. Okay. And also, I do want to state that to the uncommon folk, um, if by any way, shape, or form that I did not um, conduct myself in a professional manner, I do apologize and I do hope that you will forgive me. Um, this has been a rough year, and thank you. Thank you. And to be perfectly honest, I was hesitant to mention that, but I think it's only fair to the uncommon folk, um, that you become made aware that I may have to undergo surgery, and that depending on how it goes, there might be some time where I may not be able to produce um, content, but in the upcoming year, I'm going to be sharing some um, personal thoughts on my community tab. But good evening, Sarah. And I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you're watching this because there's a 5 hour difference over there in the UK, and I think it's 3 o'clock in the morning over in the UK. So I just want to say thank you very much um, for stopping by in the chat. Okay. Now I will do um, a stream on Christmas Eve. It's probably going to be a short one. Basically, um, I'm just going to give you my Christmas, my message regarding Christmas. Many of you do know that um, I have been a Christian for a long time, and that um, 30, hmm, 30, almost 34 years ago, I gave my life to the Lord Jesus Christ, and He's been my rock in dealing with all the stuff that I have to deal with, and He's going to be my rock um, dealing with the issues of my health. So, being that no one else is going to um, join the panel, I think I have said what needed to be said. Um, some some mainline Puerto Ricans, they don't have an identity crisis. They know who They know who they are. I know as a mainland Puerto Rican, I know who I am. I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm also American. Okay, and that's the reality. Some of us, they do have an identity crisis, and I would suggest to those who mainland Puerto Ricans who are okay, who are struggling with who they are, is to reach out and accept that you're part of that you're part of a wonderful culture. Okay, that that's something about being Puerto Rican makes us unique. Okay, and it's not just the language of the Spanish. There's also um, the history. Okay, I have not heard much about the Blue Vein Society, so I will have to do some research regarding that. Um, Please forgive me if I'm ignorant. It's just that, like I stated, um, with the situation with my health and the fact that I may have to undergo surgery. So, but what I would do is I will do some research uh, this week regarding the Blue Vein Society. I From what little I do know, it has to do with mulattoes, but other than that, I really don't know. So, but I still can't believe that there's still 8 people. Okay, let's see. Okay. Here's another comment. I can say the same thing because I guess it's an American thing and it happened in America. I did not bother until like a few days ago. Um, I do know that black skin is amazing. Let's talk about that. Other than that, I really don't know, and I would rather um, do my research before I discuss it further. Um, the reality is that unfortunately, in these YouTube streets, we have a lot of people who love to talk out without getting the facts. That is, and that is the reality. And here on this platform, um, I have been a strong believer that if we're going to talk about something, okay, let me see. And I think James might have something to say. It's basically about lighter skinned mixed race people being racist towards black people. Okay. Well, all I can say is this, and I said this before, and I'm going to say this again. People need, okay, people should accept themselves as who they are. If there are people who do not want to accept you for what you are, the best thing to do is to leave them be. Okay? Because you don't need the grief. And from what little I do know regarding biracial and multiracial people, is that they've gone through many problems. Part of it has to do with identity, which was part of the theme for tonight's stream. Okay. And also, from what I can see, is that mixed people have been ridiculed and persecuted over things that they have absolutely no control. Okay. They have no control regarding who are their parents. They have very little control um, with their upbringing until they became an adult. So, and I know, okay, and yeah, I can understand that, but this is the way this is the okay. Now again, I'm the outsider here. So what I see, okay, what I see is the following: mixed race people. They need to unite within their own different subgroups before they can think about uniting with the group as a whole, because there are many internal conflicts. Okay, I am not saying that they cannot unite. What I'm saying is they're gonna have to realize that there are some people that will not unite with them for whatever reason. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start. Okay. So in about 5 minutes, I'm going to end this stream. Usually, because I do need to get ready to go to bed. Even though I'm on vacation this week, I do have things that I need to attend to. But in any case, I do appreciate all the interaction in the chat. I also appreciate all those who appeared on the panel. Okay. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't think that there would be this much activity tonight. But that being said, uh, I will be live Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Uh, it's going to be thank you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. So I will be saying my Christmas message on Saturday. And I just want to let all of you who are going through the loss of a loved one bear in mind you are not alone. And also bear in mind, as long as you have fond memories of them, they will forever live in your hearts. So, with that being said, um, I thank everybody for allowing me to enter into your devices. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Hosseini Ground, and I wish you all a very good night. Take care and peace.